What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Kanati podcast. This is our episode 3, coming at you from our hunting cabin in upstate New York. I'm Kevin Lezak. We got Sam Tatich here on the podcast and Nate Tabor as usual. So, a couple less people than we thought were going to be here tonight, but we're going to go at it anyway. And Sam's usually our producer. He was
on the camera tonight.
He was the guy behind the camera on our very first podcast in the cabin that I live in. But we called him up and said, "Hey, come chat with us a little bit." And so
We'll take a gander at it, see what happens.
we'll take a gander at it. Have you been here before?
This is my second time up here. First time I came up.
Yeah, you came
was
up
with your father.
Yeah, we came up just during the day, right?
Yeah, we did a little duck hunting. Tried to get some wood duck, but didn't see a whole lot.
Yeah. This pond that I have here, I've only shot one duck on this pond my entire life, and we built this in, I think, 96. We built this place in 96. I've shot one duck on the pond.
Well, I think aren't there a lot, all the farms around here have pretty big runoff ponds, don't they?
So Halsey Valley has the big stream that goes
right.
down it, and that holds all the ducks. And I put decoys out there, thinking that maybe they would stay. They don't. In the spring, I'll get like 2 ducks that will maybe nest on it.
Yeah.
But then in the fall, when you can hunt them, nothing
Not a thing.
whatsoever. Oh, by the way, we're thinking about goose hunting.
Saturday or Sunday.
Well, maybe one of the first days coming up in the week. Because that field where I'm hunting, every single day. I was talking to Paul. He wants to do that.
You want to do that before you get that deer you're chasing?
I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know.
Here's my predicament.
Yeah.
I don't have a deer yet this year.
Yeah, I know. We need to get some deer.
Yeah, man. Seriously. So, as much as
going
I
in the
want
morning.
a goose, I want deer.
You're going in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, wind blows right. Maybe I'll shoot one out the window here.
This is a giant deer blind.
Yeah.
So you guys can't see it, but on the camera you can't see. But if you just look that way, we've got a chair in front of a window that looks over the field, and that is my dad's go-to spot. He's a little rough around the edges these days, so he can waddle in here and sit in his chair and stay warm by the wood stove. Yeah. He does well.
Yeah.
Out of that thing, usually.
I told Kevin, I didn't tell you, my dad finally picked up hunting again. He hasn't hunted since I was early high school. He'd help me with any deer I got, but he went out twice this year. He went out opening day. He missed a doe with 4 rounds opening day.
What day was the day you sent me the
Did you say
Snapchat?
you missed
That
the
was
doe
opening
with
day?
4 rounds?
Yeah, well,
Damn.
so he wanted to take one of my rifles. I have an old Remington 721. It's a 30-06. Old school from the 50s. He really likes it. He wanted it ever since the day I bought it right next to him, but he didn't want to pay for it, so he just thinks it's his. One of them deals. But it's iron sight, so he's, 67 now? He's getting up there in age, so. Hunting in the woods with iron sights when you're old, I'm pretty sure he had his birth control glasses on. The real big lens reading glasses, birth control glasses. You've never heard that saying?
I've never heard that saying.
That's pretty funny.
That's good, though. Yeah.
But he went out there, I hear crack, 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 and he comes trudging back in, all mad because he missed a deer. Went out the rest of the day, round 2. Didn't see nothing. He probably fell asleep, but the other day I sent Kevin a Snapchat of him. I got home from work, went up, saw him. He's out there. The most beautiful old hunter you could imagine. Blue jeans, jean jacket,
Love it.
hoodie, orange hunting hat. Got 30-06 slung over his shoulders. I talked to him for a minute. All right, we'll catch you later. 10 minutes later, well, boom! Calls me up, ring, got a deer, come on out, help me. I'm like, okay, right on. I go, where is he? He goes, 50 yards that way. Walk up to it, I go, yeah, it's whatever, it's a doe. He hasn't got one in a long time. Ended up being a button buck, which kind of sucks, but no, he was ecstatic, super happy about it. He wants to get back into it. And
You know, this is something I think about a lot, is these old guys, man. I hear about it all the time. These guys used to just buffalo check,
oh yeah,
plaid, blue jeans.
They didn't have camo.
Smoking a cigarette.
You know where camo came from?
Getting slammer bucks.
old surplus military stuff.
Camo came
So
from
what
after
I'm
military.
saying,
This
what I'm
pattern
saying,
right here,
though,
this is the old World War
is
II pattern.
Yeah.
These guys used to get bucks like that, and we're out here with freaking
scent, camo, face
Everything.
paint.
$900 worth
Everything.
of camo.
Yep.
And
I
so
will
is,
say,
is
though-
that necessary? Because so I've been trying to approach hunting like trying to think about, if I want to be able to get a buck in blue jeans and a plaid shirt.
I think when they're in heavy...
And everything else is just like a bonus, right? Everything else just kind of helps past that point. But these guys, I mean, they used to do it.
I think the reason, so there's been so many times I've been in the woods and almost gotten ran over by a buck because there's that sweet spot in November that they usually have opening day right around where the rut is going so hard. And granted, it's not an old buck. It's not a giant mature buck running me down because they're smarter than that. But, if you've got a 1.5-year-old, 2.5-year-old buck that is rutting so hard and they're just having fun with it. They're just chasing. They don't care at all. Like, I'm talking to you, these bucks will walk right up to you, but it comes down to just being in the right place at the right time. There's times where I've had a duck behind a tree because a doe ran by and the buck was running right behind it.
Yeah.
And it's not because that wasn't a buck I was going to shoot, but like,
Right.
it wouldn't matter what I was wearing at all.
Right.
It wouldn't matter.
They're like freshmen at their first college party. Oh, woman.
But you're talking about getting lucky, but
Yeah.
these guys, I mean, like
That's how they
these
all
guys
hunted.
used to get bucks just with nothing.
With a
man.
ham
like
sandwich
literally
and a-
smoking a cigarette.
With
Yeah,
a
but
ham
what are
sandwich
the-
piston.
Camo.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
You know-
with a ham sandwich.
But if you look at it, let's say like statistically, yeah, they killed big bucks back then before there was camo and before they cared about scent control and stuff like
Right.
that. But in a statistic compared to now, in a ratio, I wonder how many that would be compared to now. Would it be because there was more around back then, or is there more around now?
More
would
land,
it be
less
a lot of
population.
people used to hunt back then? Not many. There's not that many hunters now.
No.
The hunting
not really.
population's way down. It's coming up because of social media and stuff now.
Right.
Like there's a lot of new people getting into hunting.
Yeah.
But I was just talking to my dad today about when we first started hunting this property and when we first bought this property. The trees were a lot smaller then too, but this valley behind me, you would see dots of orange on the hill.
Yep.
You would just and then you would hear boom, 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 and it was like a war out there. And then you would see all those orange dots getting down and crawling out of their tree stands or whatever they're in, and then all the deer would flush off that hill and come over this hill. And then you hear boom, 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 and then all the deer would go back to that hill, and it was just a domino effect of deer running. There's not hunters like that anymore.
No, you don't have the 30, 40 person drive through woods anymore.
No.
I remember that growing up.
We live in a small town that you would think the majority of people hunt.
I don't.
And a lot do really, but if you think about your immediate friend group,
I'd say maybe
if you have
10% of the time.
if you have
maybe.
50 friends, really only 10 of them hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't know that many that hunt hard.
Right.
There's some that hunt. I mean, I
Opening
can name
day.
a few.
Yeah.
Opening day.
Yeah,
Tons of people.
they rifle hunt. They'll go out and they'll do it, and they'll probably
They'll
get a
fill
deer.
their tag. And
Yeah.
then
I
they're
don't
happy.
know. I mean, you maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know
You're one of the hardest hunters I know.
I don't know if I know
It's-
another one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's easier for
I've
me.
been out every days of November.
You're probably next in line
Right.
for the amount of people I know who go out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people go sit in the woods for 1 day, 2 days. and if
Well,
they
also
get a
Nate and I
deer-
are both self-employed, so we can
That helps
true.
a lot.
we can change our schedule to do that.
Yeah, that helps
I'm
a lot.
super fortunate for that.
Definitely.
I think
because-
you have more diehard bow hunters in this area than you do diehard rifle
so?
hunters. I think so.
I don't
can't
know.
name one.
I think bow hunting. I feel like bow hunters put a lot more time into the woods.
So
than gun
that's
hunters.
absolutely. And-
Bow hunter is like that. If you're a bow
It's a
hunter,
commitment.
it's a commitment and it's a
100%.
passion.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of gun hunters. I mean, hunting with a gun's
I'd
great,
love,
but it is easier.
I would love to get into bow, but I just don't physically have the time with work and my
Right.
schedule.
Right.
I'd be lucky to get out for an afternoon
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah,
So to me,
It's
going
harder
and
to get a
spending the
deer.
money on a bow,
you got to train. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of legwork
yeah,
that goes
you have to
into
put effort
shooting.
and
Yeah,
time.
definitely.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
it's way more intentional than
100%.
rifle hunting.
But you know
would-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. So, but like on this note of like these guys that just didn't like care about camo too much and whatnot. Like last year when I got that rifle buck, I was wearing a poncho. I was
Yeah.
wearing like my cowboy poncho just tucked behind a log that was laid down.
Yeah,
and it was
you
one of those
don't-
situations where this buck was just chasing a couple doe and I got lucky, I guess.
Right,
But-
you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's what it comes down to with these guys that wore that kind of thing. But going back to, they didn't have camo back then. Camo, Sam actually put me onto this. or told me about this. Camel came from vets.
Right.
They came back from the military, and they were like, they went out hunting. They're like, might as well. Who knows if they put it on to camouflage, or maybe they put it on because that was the warmest gear they had. Who knows?
Well, I know this style, this duck pattern, whatever, that came from the Philippines in World War II when we fought the Japanese there. Because all the guys in Europe, they just had OD green, and I think OD green, even Vietnam, that was up to Vietnam. Camo really didn't come around till mid-'80s maybe.
And
then
now
I
there's
think a lot more people started wearing it in the woods because, we're invisible.
now we've got brands that are $900 for a jacket or a pair of waders or whatever, and the scent lock and
I went to
this
Field
and
and
that.
Stream the other week, and I saw, Sika? They had a
Sitka.
They had a bright orange hunting vest. Mm-hmm. Just a vest. Bright orange, no pockets, nothing.
Probably $400.
$104 or $105.
Yeah. Oh, you mean like a thin, just something you wear over everything
And
else?
just because I had the Sika logo on
yeah,
it.
yeah, man. It's
like,
insane.
excuse me?
It's insane. And you
people
know,
buy it.
Looks good on Instagram.
I wear the the non-typical line from Drake,
Yep.
and I love it.
It's
and
good-
it was
it's good
great,
looking
dude.
stuff.
It's a phenomenal jacket and pants. It has so many pockets, and the whole spine is foam, which I love because it's the tree stand hunter is what it's called.
Right.
And so like you lean against a tree and you got a foam
Sitting on a
padding and
pillow.
stuff
Yeah.
there. It's great. It's got these two pockets on the chest that one of them has a tether on it that goes around your rangefinder.
Okay.
The other one has a tether on it that goes around
Built
your
with a
grunt
purpose,
call.
has everything you need.
It's all built
Nice.
in and stuff. And I think the coat was like high end, maybe it was $300. It might have been $299. I think it was like $249, which might sound expensive to some people, but like if you had that jacket in Sitka, you're spending $699 on it.
Easy.
Yeah.
And
Easy.
it's like it's a phenomenal jacket. And actually, a year in, the zipper malfunctioned, and I just emailed them and said, "Hey, I bought this about a year ago. It might have been 2 years ago even." I said the zipper, when I zipped it up, sometimes you zip something and it just doesn't zip and it stays open. That's what it was doing. And they were just like, "Hey, just send us a picture so we know that you purchased it, and then just mail it to us and we'll send you a new one." And they replaced it.
That's
they didn't have
awesome.
the pattern I originally bought. It was a bottomland pattern, and they replaced it with a coyote or something like that it was called, which is cool actually. I like it more because in New York, all the ash trees are dead, and this pattern blends in perfect with ash trees. And I hunt a lot of ash trees.
Yeah.
Like where I'm hunting is a lot of ash, and not that that's a good thing to do is hunt out of a dead tree.
I was gonna,
Yeah.
You
but
hunt in like a dead tree.
I've got a couple hang-ons that are in
Right down
dead
there.
ash trees. This one right
That's,
here, yeah.
that's
I mean-
bold.
Yeah.
I climbed up
strategy.
in that sand. It's pretty sturdy.
I don't know what
It's just dead on the top.
It's I mean, it was growing
Hopefully.
leaves this year. It's not completely dead. It will be probably because
In a couple
everything's
years,
dying.
yeah.
I was thinking about that today with those ash trees, man. Like, I don't know when they're gonna start falling, but when they do, I mean, they're gonna
They've been
die.
falling.
Yeah,
That's
are they
why
already?
they've been knocking power lines down and stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, that upsets me like crazy to think about. Like in our lifetime where we live, we will not see ash trees again.
Yeah,
Because
I
of
have
how
one growing
long-
in my yard. Did I tell you that?
Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah.
I hope it survives.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, it was what was it? A beetle that came through and killed them all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever
And
happened to all the poplars? They're starting to go down too, a lot of them.
I'm not
I don't
sure.
see as many of them anymore.
I know there was a beetle coming through and killing all the hemlocks for a
Yeah.
minute there too, but I think that we've made it through that. It's weird to think, man. But
Just how one bug can take out a whole species of tree.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
hope
that's
nothing
why
comes
the
and
land
takes the
behind my
oaks.
mom's house that I hunt is like, you see it this time of year. You can't tell, but in the summer, there's just a whole swath of the hill that's dead.
Yeah.
It's weird to see.
So I was driving out down towards Elmira, bringing my boat to a guy to do some motor work to it. And my dad and I were in the car. And we noticed on the side of the mountain, the whole mountain in the middle of summer, bare, just sticks. Just, like right now, how trees are, just sticks, not a single leaf on it.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck is that? And we mentioned it to the guy when we got to his place. And he said, yeah, those moths came through.
No shit.
And just destroyed them. And have you seen, it's usually like late summer, the trees in our town will just be covered in all those caterpillar, looks like cobwebs and spider nests. Those are actually a moth.
Yeah.
They're in the caterpillar form, and then they'll turn into those moths and just,
I mean, typically you
They'll
don't
kill
see
the tree.
them too far outside town, though. Or am I mistaken on
I
that?
don't know. They cut those trees down in the courthouse yesterday,
I saw that, yeah.
Wait, what?
right across from Dunkin' Donuts. They cut those trees down right in front of the courthouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. They said that they were diseased and dying or something like that.
Gotcha.
There's like 2 pretty trees that usually
Yeah.
bloom really well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right by the military
Yep.
like memorial and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know why. Sam, you want to take a minute and tell people about you and who the heck you are?
Oh, God. I think I'm going to need more than a minute.
We grew up together.
Yep. Graduated high school, Kevin.
Yeah.
Met Nate when actually,
Somewhere along
a
the way.
few months after I got out of the Army, I think.
Yeah, when'd you get out of the Army?
When did I meet you?
2014. It was like
2014?
I got out July of 14.
Probably a house
I didn't
party.
meet you at 14.
In
Maybe
passing.
15.
Probably in passing. Well,
I went to a house party you threw on one of my leaves.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah.
But no, it was soon after I got out of the Army.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
I
I
don't
can't
remember
remember.
exactly like when.
It was
we met,
14
but-
or 15.
Well, you went to
Gotcha.
the Army as soon as we graduated.
Yep, 2 weeks after high school graduation, I went out, went to basic, and did
You
4.5
missed
years.
all the grad parties?
I did.
Dude, did you
Every
have
grad
any...
party.
Did you ever ride in the Grundle bus?
Never rode in the Grundle bus.
You never got in that thing?
Never went on any of the Myrtle trips.
So, you've heard about the Grundle bus.
Yeah, I know about the Cargo bus.
So, in 2008, we graduated 2010, 2008, bought a, what was it, a Chevy conversion van.
And it had the curtains and everything in the back, the big
Yeah.
captain chairs.
You want me to wait for a minute?
No, you're good.
I'm going to wait anyway.
All right, we're back.
All
We're
right.
back. So I this is all my gear. I run a videography company. I got all my stuff here, and we had a little technical difficulty with the light, but we're back. What were we
To
talking about? The Grundle bus.
So, yeah, I was
Grundle
saying in
bus.
2008, Sam and I graduated in high school 2010. 2008, I bought a conversion van off a fellow up in the hill, and it was $800.
Yep.
Bought this thing, right? The first day I drove it home, it overheated driving up to Jimmy Cap's house. You know, he lives up that steep
Yep.
hill. Thing was fine, but I drove up his hill and it overheated in his driveway. And
mile from
it
your
needed
house.
a belt. It needed a belt.
Yep.
But we took this thing to South Carolina 2 or 3 times.
You guys were packed full with each other, too.
It
You
fit
had
what? 1,
everybody.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We used to put 8 people in.
Yeah.
We put a lawn chair in the center of the middle row. Long story short, we used to just load this thing with everybody and just go have the most fun. So you were gone, but what I was saying was that summer, all the graduation parties of
Yeah.
everyone we graduated with,
Yeah.
we would just load everyone in that thing. And I just like imagine we all wrote like our names on the side of it, and I had a giant Texas Longhorn skull
I forgot about that.
on the front of it, strapped to the front of it, and we
Yep.
used to just do burnouts in it and stuff, and we would show up to a grad party and slam the brakes, and everyone would jump out and get there, and I'm like, the parents were probably like, oh jeez. There was one time in South Carolina, we went down with a big group of guys, and I told you this story before. You've probably heard it, but Brandon Ray, we fake kidnapped him on the boardwalk in Myrtle Beach. We had him walk down the boardwalk, and we pulled up in that thing and jumped out and put a pillowcase over his head and threw him in, and he was like, ah! This lady was screaming at us like, hey, stop. Took off, burnout. But anyway, I didn't know you missed all those days.
No, I did. I was at basic training all that summer. And I remember Garrett sent me a bunch of pictures on Facebook of your shenanigans.
Yeah.
Then I came home right after basic, basic and infantry school. Came home in November. I think it was, I missed Thanksgiving. I might have been home for that Thanksgiving. Then right after that, went to Fort Knox, and 30 days later, I was in Afghanistan for a year.
Yeah.
And
As a young
man, I was
young
18.
man.
Couldn't even
Insane.
grow a beard, but I had to shave every day.
Insane.
But now then, Garrett, who was on your last podcast,
Yeah.
he used to send me "I love you" posts on my Facebook wall. So whenever Facebook memory pops up, there's at least 2 to 3 a week
Yeah.
from Garrett typing a love poem to me about how his week went, and he'd attach a picture or like, "Hey, I'm with Kevin and Devin. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Miss you, honey."
So how often could you look at Facebook?
That deployment maybe once a week. We
Yeah.
had, I think, 1 or 2 computers on our base and 1 phone. And we had 80 or 90 guys there
Sharing the same phone,
sharing
same,
it then
same
with
computer.
all our missions and everything else.
Yeah. So if you had it, you only had it for a few minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then my mom started looking at my Facebook more and more and more after Garrett was messaging and posting all that stuff on it. So she actually, I'm pretty sure, thought I was a little gay for a while.
Yeah, probably.
Which was kind of funny. But no, I did that deployment.
Well, you have this guy messaging you every week saying, miss you, love you.
Yeah.
The boys are out.
Literally. Pretty funny. But no, that deployment was a rowdy deployment. We did a whole lot of stuff, and I'll never forget that crap. But came back.
Now you're driving truck.
Yeah. Then, stayed in the Army another 2 years after that, did another deployment. Then got out, and I worked the oil field for a while, then pipeline, then been driving truck.
Yeah.
And now I'm just a dirty old truck driver talking on a CB, hauling ass and making cash, you know what I mean?
And you were talking about going out hunting this year.
I've been out 3 times.
With the new gun.
Yeah, I bought a lever action 44 Magnum.
Have you seen this thing?
He told me about it.
It's sick.
It's one of the new style ones with a Picatinny
Jurassic
rail.
Park
Dream gun, dude. Dream gun.
It
It's
wasn't-
a 4570, but same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
If it was a 4570, that's it. You see on Henry's website?
It says it can take down
Down
a
a
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
It has
have-
pictures
they have
of
like
game
the,
animals.
the caliber, and then they have like the suggested like animal that you should hunt it with, and
Yeah.
that's the only one that has a T-Rex on it.
Dude, those Henry lever actions, like some
Yeah.
people hate on them, I just love them.
Yeah.
Oh, they're wicked
I'm
nice.
a big lever action fan. I love lever actions, and this whole like new thing with the rails and everything, they're just
So
they're
I
just
have
cool
a-
guns. I like them a lot.
I think it's a 1872 production model, but it's a 1886 whatever. So lever action in I don't think it's 30-30. I think it's 44 Magnum. I don't know. It's a Safe Queen. It was left down from my grandfather, who his father bought it and gave it to him. So it's real old school Winchester lever. I've never shot it because I don't want to. Just beautiful old gun. It's got scratches, stuff like that, but too much value. I don't want. Well, not value. It's personal to me, and I don't.
Right.
I want to keep that forever.
Yeah.
Give it to my kids someday.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking about really investing in some more lever guns.
Yeah.
Because they are so much fun.
I shoot a BLR Browning 308, and
Yep.
I think every deer I've killed with a rifle, besides the couple I've shot with a Model 700 270,
Yep.
has been with that 308. I've probably shot 30 plus deer with that gun.
I've shot more deer with a 12 gauge.
Yeah, there
Just
was
a
one
rifle
year,
slug
for
gun.
some reason, I switched to the Ithaca 20 gauge. I had never shot a deer. Well, in New York, they banned rifles for a long time. It was just shotguns.
Yep.
You know, they didn't ban them, but you
And I
just,
shot the majority
whatever.
of my
You
deer.
couldn't hunt deer with rifle
Yep.
for a long time. And right when I turned legal age of hunting big game, because when we were growing up, I don't think you could until you're 16. You couldn't hunt big game, like you couldn't deer hunt until you're 16. You could archery hunt.
14.
I don't think it was 14. I think it was 16. Was it 14? It might have been 14.
I'm pretty sure 14 because that's when I got
no,
my
yeah,
first
you're right. It
legal
was
deer.
14 because 12
You could go out.
you could go small game hunt and you could go be accompanied, but you couldn't shoot. You didn't
could
get
turkey
tags.
hunt.
You didn't get tags for big game at 12.
No. 14, you would get your first deer tag.
Yeah,
But I think you could get turkey at 12.
yeah, you can get turkey
Yeah.
and shoot small game like squirrel, pheasant, things like that, grouse, whatever.
Which that
at
always
12.
blew my mind because the only thing we could hunt back then was shotguns.
Right. And then right when I think when they came out with it, they made a rule that you could rifle hunt when they legalized it again in New York.
Yep.
You could rifle hunt, but you had to be 16 to rifle hunt. Maybe that's where I'm coming up with the 16.
You might be right on that. I
And
haven't been
that's
16
right
in a while,
when
so
I-
I couldn't tell you.
I have
I
no
think
idea.
you're right. Honestly, I think you're right, though.
So what I'm getting at is my whole, history of deer hunting. I've always been able to use a rifle because
Yeah.
I was like the year that it became legal is the year that I could start doing that. So I've always used this 308. I've always used it.
It's a lever gun.
Yeah, it's a lever action
Yeah.
BLR.
Let me ask you something. So you're Polish.
Yeah.
So is your so
I got some
what-
pull on me, too.
Mom or dad's side is Polish.
Father's side's Polish.
What about mother's side?
Mom's side's native.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your mother's side's been here for a while.
My mother's side is native.
Because your mom's not native. I mean,
So
she's
technically,
got some in her, but she's...
my mom's two sides are French Canadian
Okay.
and native in Canada.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was the
They've
Mohawk
been in
tribe.
North America for a while then. Do you know how long?
No idea.
No idea, but they're not like 19th, 18th, 20th century
I don't know.
immigrants.
I don't know. I have no. I mean,
Sam, do you know like your family history?
So me and my brother were both adopted, but we're true brothers. So I know
I always wondered that because you guys look a lot alike, and that makes sense now.
100% we are. Yeah,
'Cause
because I
you're
look
actually
nothing
brothers.
like my mom and dad.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I knew you were adopted. I
Yep.
just didn't know.
oh no, we are true 100% brothers.
Yeah,
Cool.
Which is rowdy.
because
So do you know your heritage?
Slovak, Greek, just a mutt of Europe.
Yeah.
A ton
That's
of
what
Do
Europe.
you know
father's
if you're
side
like
is.
recent immigrants or you've been in the country for a while? There's a reason I'm asking.
So I don't know. I mean, when you turn 18 after being adopted, you can file paperwork to figure out your birth family and stuff like that. I
Right.
just never have. The way I see it, the parents I have now are my parents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe someday when I'm old and decrepit and cranky, like with a walker or something, I'll look it up.
Figure
I
it
don't
out,
know.
yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So my mom's side of the family, her maiden name is BB, and they've been here since the 1600s.
No
in
shit.
America, yeah, real early.
That's crazy.
Right, and my dad's, I don't know for sure, but not like 20th century immigrants. So I think that my dad's side's probably been here a little while too. Mm-hmm. So why I'm saying this is we're talking about lever guns, and I don't know if you guys relate with this, but for me, when I hold a lever gun and when I use a lever gun, there's something about it that just feels right.
Well, I mean-
and I've thought about this a lot, when I'm out in the woods just sitting there and I'm like, is this just kind of some like imprint on my DNA? You know
Well,
what I mean?
you
Because
don't
these lever guns are such a part of American culture.
you don't only use a
And-
lever
But they're
gun.
not
you
that
use
old,
a
though.
30-30. You use the lever gun.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Mine's a newer lever gun.
So like I just wonder, I know it's kind of an out there thought, but like really, like I wonder if there's some deep down part of my, like there's an ancestral memory to using these guns because it's been around since the mid 1800s.
That's the guns guys rode on horseback.
I know.
Not the mid 1800s.
Late 1800s.
Lever guns are not that old. Like 17 or 18 late 70s
Yeah.
to 1880s.
But still, I mean, there was such a huge part of American culture, though.
It was about
And
20 years.
I don't personally, like in my life, have a reason to have such a connection to this 30-30.
Right.
That's what makes me feel like there's maybe something more to this, and just
Yeah.
knowing that like my bloodline goes back so far, I'm like,
could
is
be.
there something to that? And that's why I'm asking about you guys because
Well, I mean,
you hunt with a lever action, you hunt with a
I
lever
hunt
action,
with a
you go out
flintlock.
of your way to hunt with a lever action.
I did now.
like what's up with that?
muzzle
Why not a
in,
bolt?
Well, muzzle in
Does it
season.
feel the same?
I think you can load a lever action quicker.
Well, yeah, you can, but it
just
feels
feel-
different though when you
It's
load
like
a lever action.
if I pick up one of my revolvers or a lever gun, I just feel like Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
Like that's probably one of the coolest feelings in the world. But muzzle in season, I hunt with a flintlock. That's the biggest disadvantage I could do during muzzleloader. Like, why would I
You can
not
hunt with a
go?
bow.
You can hunt with a bow too.
Yeah.
But I mean, why wouldn't I
During
take an
muzzleloader.
inline where I can shoot 500 yards with an inline
Yep.
muzzleloader?
Right.
I've piled deer from far away with my 50 cal muzzleloader. Like
So-
they're like, I could probably say that my 50 cal muzzleloader piles deer better than my 308 does.
So
it's
my-
just a big bullet that knocks them down and thing's accurate.
One of my old army buddies in Texas, he hunts in New Mexico, muzzleloader season, off a tripod in a stand, has a suppressor on a threaded barrel for a muzzleloader, and he dropped where are the big deer in New Mexico? It's not mule deer. Do they have mule deer in New Mexico?
In New Mexico, they have elk in New Mexico.
They do.
I don't know. Whatever
weird.
it was, but he sent me pictures last year and a video of it. He piled a deer at 830 yards with a muzzleloader.
It's far.
Wow.
That's a poke.
That's a poke for sure, man.
Well, now I'm
30
just wondering
yards.
what
I mean,
deer
I-
you're talking about.
I've never shot a gun like
Mule
that.
deer?
ever.
It's got to be a mule deer.
Mule deer are bigger than whitetail.
Yeah, it was big, whatever it was.
Probably mule deer.
I'm pretty sure it was a mule deer because
Definitely mule deer in New Mexico.
100% mule deer. Well, I
was
mean, I
thinking-
think about it. Like I've shot competitive long range, like 1,000+ yard matches, and I sit there and I'm like in the moment, just shooting steel. I have to sit there and think, to me, take a muzzleloader to 800 some yards. That
I couldn't imagine that, really.
blows my mind.
Because there's a lot that can go wrong with muzzleloaders too. Like if you have a little bit of moisture, like you're packing it yourself.
But those new
even that
inlines are
delay.
basically...
I've never personally shot in a muzzleloader, but I know you pull the trigger.
That delay happens.
And there's a little delay.
Yeah.
Isn't it every time? There's like a slight delay?
Yeah.
So when I shoot a regular gun, whether it's semi-auto or whatever,
there's no delay.
It's instant.
Right. A regular centerfire round, it's like you shoot, it's there.
So my flintlock...
So when I'm aiming, I'm waiting for the right moment, and then it's like, boom.
And
well, you gotta like moment, with a muzzleloader, you gotta, especially 830, you gotta hold it there.
Majority
to compensate for that delay.
It's a fraction of a second, really, but it's noticeable.
The inlines are pretty. They're quick. Yeah. It's kaboom.
I've never shot one. So
you have a split second.
The flintlock though is a
mine. I sit there. I track a deer.
You hear it first.
I watch literally the flint fly forward to hit the pan. It goes click, boom.
That's wild.
I love shooting my flintlock though.
Yeah.
And it's only a.
I've got one.
I've
never hunted with it.
I just shoot 40 caliber round balls.
Yeah.
It's a rifled barrel.
Round ball.
It's just a lead round ball with about 100 grains of powder.
Yeah, because a lot of muzzleloader hunters, it's a regular bullet.
A bullet. Yeah.
So you shoot with a round ball.
Oh yeah.
That's old school, man.
It is.
I like it.
It's so much fun.
Here I am musing about lever actions, and you're basically shooting a musket.
I've only gotten one deer with a musket though, and I've shot at a bunch more.
All right.
You're a 100-yard gun at best.
Right.
Hopefully they're in the woods, and
is
hopefully
there
there's
iron
no
sights
more.
on it? Or
it's got iron sights.
Yeah.
So it's got just fixed posts up front and a dovetail rear.
You were saying earlier about how your dad has a hard time looking at the iron sights. That model 270 model 700 Remington that I have was my grandfather's gun, and he wore glasses, and it was hard for him to look down the scope.
Yep.
So he ended up mounting one of those raised scopes on it. So you can either look through the scope or you can look under the scope and use the iron sights on it, because he could never find the deer in the scope because it messed with his glasses.
Yeah.
You wear glasses. Does that ever mess with you? Like, do you wear contacts all the time?
Yeah, I've never hunted with glasses. It's always contacts, yeah.
And it doesn't affect it at all looking through the scope?
No.
Yeah, it always affected him. And for whatever reason, it affects my dad's too. Now that he, like, older in life, has glasses and stuff, he's always like, oh, it's hard for me to look through the scope. And that's why they had...
It's got to be the prescription on whatever they are.
With the magnify and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah. But he always looked through it for whatever reason.
I can imagine, though, because the Vortex binoculars we have, the piece that's by your eye, it goes in and out.
It's like a focus.
Yep.
That's for glasses. So...
Oh, really?
All the way, yeah. So if I'm wearing glasses with those, I screw them all the way in.
Okay, I was going to say I always have mine all the way out.
All the way out, right.
Yeah.
So
I always thought it was for sun because it literally cups my eyes.
Right.
So there's no light.
Yeah.
Which is great. So you know my buddy Ryan Nash?
Yep. Just start laughing.
Yeah, so last year 2 years ago, he came up to New York from Virginia. He's from here, but he moved down to Virginia with his wife. And he had a very different hunting experience growing up. They always hunted state land, and they were like, if it's brown, it's down. They had 15 guys, 20 guys go out there, and they were like driving the woods on opening day, whatever. And if a deer ran across the field, they're all just shooting at it. And just like, if hopefully someone hits it, right? So
I think the big drives, I think that came from like the old school farmer mentality where, hey, we have 4 hours before we have to go milk.
I understand drives. I get it. I don't like them.
No, but I think that's literally because this area is very rural, a lot of farms.
Yeah.
I think that's where the big drive mentality comes from.
I mean, deer locked down.
What do you mean by that? Like, is it like a time issue?
Time issue. They had to get back to milk, had to get back to do whatever.
So we're just going to do the most efficient thing possible.
Yeah. Take
Why
you
would we
and
sit
your
here
10...
and wait for a deer to walk by us? Let's get them moving. Let me push them to them. And that's back when deer tags had 4 people on a doe tag. And like,
it makes sense because my dad isn't much of a hunter, but he's actually told me before, I'll drive a deer for you. He doesn't really hunt, but he grew up
That's
doing
what they
deer
did.
drives because he grew up on farms.
Farm here would post up their whole family on the property line. The neighbors they're friends with would send 15 guys, kids, family, wives, children. Hey, go push these woods to them.
I'm pretty sure now in New York you need to have a hunting license to do a drive. Even if you do not have a gun in your hand, if you're driving deer for hunters and you can't do it
I think you're right.
at a certain, if you're
That's
a youth
crazy.
hunter, if you're a youth hunter, you have to be, you can't be on a drive. Like there's all sorts of, driving
lot
has
of
its
new
own
rules.
rules in New York. It's strange. Like
Yeah,
don't
it's
quote me on that, but I know
I'm
for a
pretty sure
fact,
you're right.
That's wild.
I know for a fact that there's a law that says like a youth hunter.
Just to walk through the woods, you can't without a gun. You gotta have a license for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Damn, dude. That's
So
crazy.
if you're intentionally
That's
trying
crazy,
to push
man.
deer, if you're intentionally
Excuse me,
trying
so
to
you
push
got a
deer.
license for walking?
But anyway, with Ryan Nash down in Virginia, he came up here 2 years ago, and it was the first time that he hunted intentionally instead of just going out. And if something's brown, it's down, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about him actually. When I invited him to come up on an opening day, we were in a spot, and I've got him in a really good spot, right? And I hear boom, and I'm like, oh man, I hope he got a buck. He was really excited about getting his first buck. And I text him, and I'm like, what'd you get? What'd you get? He's like, oh, I took a running headshot at a doe. And I'm like, why would you ever? And I'm so
it's a deer.
I went over to him, and he's like, I don't know, it came by, and it ran by, so I just took a shot at it. And I was like, Ryan, we're hunting very low-pressured land. This is private land. This is the first day of rifle season. They're very low-pressured right now.
Yeah.
I was like, you do not take a shot unless it's a clean, ethical shot. Do not take a shot at even walking deer. Like, if you need to take a shot, like, stop it. Like, bleed at it and get it to stop. Yeah. Take your shot, whatever. And that was his first time that I had realized, like, okay, I'm going to have to really teach him this kind of thing. And the next day, I set him up on this gas line, on Slugger's gas line. And actually, the neighboring property, they were sitting for a little while, and then they drove the woods.
Pushed him right
And we didn't know that, but ended up being a whole herd of deer ran in front of him, and he shot a doe and he shot a buck. And he was super, super excited. And he ended up getting it mounted and brought it back down to his house in Virginia. And the next year I went down there, and the deer was done by then. And he showed me his office. He's like, there he is, man, up on his wall in his office in his house. So
That's
proud.
awesome.
But I got a funny text that year. His wife texted me about this time and was like, hey, what are those binoculars that you wear on your chest when you're hunting? Ryan kept talking about them, and I think I want to get them for him for Christmas. And I told her what they were, the Vortex Crossfires or what I use. And hopefully Ryan doesn't see this because it might spoil his Christmas present this year again.
Again.
But
so you already spoiled one.
So no, I didn't spoil it. So she texted me tonight again, his wife, and said, hey, it's a year, like he got those last year.
Yep.
She texted me tonight, and she goes, hey, what were those binoculars again that you wore? Because Ryan lost them hunting, so I'm just going to get them for him again this year. And I told her again, I was like, what a doofus. She's like, yeah, I guess he lost them in a thick bush somewhere, and he didn't want to go back in and look for them. I'm gonna go down there because every year I go and hunt with him in Virginia. He comes up in New York, then I go down to Virginia and hunt with him down there. I guarantee I'm going to go find those binoculars. And I'm going to keep those binoculars.
I hope it gets
those are my binoculars now.
That's a shit.
Well, maybe next year tell her to get him some Vortex razors. That way you can go find them.
Something a little bit nicer.
A little bit nicer.
Yeah, the
you know
next
what I
step
mean?
up, the Diamondbacks. Who knows?
That's funny.
But he had a good time hunting up here, and it's been cool mentoring him with it. Him going from being that hunter that just shot at everything, brown is down, to he's got trail cams out now. He's following specific deer. He's checking wind. He's watching his scent, and he's like being intentional about everything. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
It's cool to see. But
I think there's like two types of hunters basically. Someone who puts the effort into it. Someone takes it very serious. Selective shots. Then you have your state land hunters.
there's a lot to be said about that too. I think, like there's a huge debate
Between trophy and meat.
Right.
You can't eat the horns. All that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a huge debate about that. Like we could talk on an entire episode about that.
I just had that conversation with a couple of my friends the other day. You know?
Like why are you waiting?
Because he's got a house that he can just sit on his porch and just shoot a deer. Just sit out there with a coffee and shoot a deer off his porch. They just walk through.
Right.
I mean,
and I was like, yeah, but you can't target a buck. He's like, why the hell would I want to target a buck? Meat's meat.
Yeah.
You can't eat the horns.
Someone asked me that recently. I was a good point. They were just like, why? They're like, listen, I'm not like knocking you for this. I'm just really interested in knowing like why Are you naming the deer and watching them grow up and then picking which one you want to shoot that year and only shooting that buck?
I don't think there's like a logical answer to it. I don't know
how to explain it.
Because I don't think there is an explanation. Well, there is an explanation, but I don't think it's anything practical. I don't think, because you don't get anything practical out of shooting. And that's where like the practical minded people will say,
let me feel the freezer.
Well, just because that's practical.
Get out, like.
So at the end of the day, the practical benefit of killing a deer is you get to eat meat, right? There's nothing practical. There's nothing practical about hanging antlers on the wall, but that doesn't mean it's without value, right?
If I kill 2 big bucks, like if I fill my bow tag on a big buck and I fill my rifle tag on a big buck, I said this is gonna be an expensive year. Because both those bucks are going to the taxidermist, and then there's over $1,000. There's $1,200 going on the wall.
Yeah,
there's nothing practical about that.
I just think
$1,200 is a whole cow to put in my freezer. If I want.
Yeah, facts.
You know,
facts. Yeah,
that's a lot of food.
I think it's just a man thing. I just think it's men like to just be like, that's the biggest buck you've ever seen, ain't it? And it's on my wall. I really think that's what it is.
Let me relate it back to.
No, I mean, what else is it?
It's a testosterone bragging right.
That's what I think it is.
Let me.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but like.
But also, if
it's the same reason why guys want to drive a Porsche or drive a big lifted truck.
I'm going to argue this. I'm going to argue it.
I know exactly what you're going to come from.
I agree, but think about my perspective of why I'm still bow hunting toad. So
you've targeted this one deer. You've put in the time and effort for it.
But why?
You want to harvest.
Why though? Because
a very
to
mature
me,
buck.
There's 2 things here, right? This is it's a renowned deer. It's the nicest deer I've ever seen in my life. In New York State, it would be a renowned deer in any other state. This is an insane deer that I've been chasing, right? And for me, it's a challenge, that's a me problem at the end of the day, right? Like that's an ego thing. You know, that I'm like, I want to win. But also I know that this is the smartest deer because he's 7 years old.
You're after the heavy chase.
He's survived 7 years. Yeah. He will be the most difficult one to harvest. In order to be successful with harvesting him, I'm going to have to do everything right. And it's, in my opinion, it's giving the most fair chase you possibly could by saying, I'm going to find the deer that has every single odd in his favor, and I'm going to find the deer that has as much wisdom as possible and everything against me and see if I can beat him.
Yeah.
Right. And by doing that, you're proving yourself as a hunter.
What if I don't put him on my wall? Obviously, I will. Obviously,
chance.
I will. Obviously, I will. But what if I don't?
But that's kind of a silly question because you're going to.
But
what are you going to do? You going to throw that head away?
Hypothetically, he doesn't.
Well, that's not what we're not talking hypotheticals though. We're talking about like reality and like so. This is it's the same like you're proving yourself, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you're proving yourself as a hunter.
But
you are proving that you are top of the pack. You're the guy. Mm-hmm. You're the hunter. You're the guy that can take this deer out.
I agree.
And it takes time. It takes skill. It takes patience. And when you get him, you can't fake that. That's one of the beautiful things about hunting. You can't fake it. You know? Like, yeah, maybe, okay, you can get lucky.
Dude, he could walk in front of anybody right now.
Yeah, okay, you can get lucky, I guess. Sure, fair enough. But
what I want to ask you about this,
I guess you could just get lucky, but you're not getting lucky. I mean, you're out there every day.
No, luck would have happened.
And so if you finally get him, it says something about you. And I just feel like there's something deep down in a men's psyche that just wants that.
So yes, I agree with you entirely, but also the other side of it is I feel like I'm respecting the animal more. Look how many deer I could have shot this year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I feel like you're doing this more for yourself, not bragging rights. You want the chase.
If it was bragging rights, I'd be out there with my rifle.
You would, but you're still out there second week of gun season with a bow.
No, because there's even
it's
more.
It's gonna be bigger bragging rights that I got.
Exactly, with the bow.
I get that. But when I asked you before opening day, I said, Nate, I don't know what to do. I have never not gone out with a rifle.
Right.
And you said, well, what? Why? Why you're not doing it?
Let me just fill the audience in on this a
Why
little bit.
Why weren't you out there with a crossbow?
Let me just fill the audience in on this a little bit. So, because we've had this conversation, but they haven't had this conversation with us. We had a conversation when rifle season opened up, Kevin's like,
it was like a day before.
This buck that he's chasing is a monster, once in a lifetime buck, and he's like
potential state record.
State record. Yeah, it's an amazing buck, incredible.
Yeah.
Seeing this thing move through the woods is just like, it's a mythical creature.
It is.
It's insane. And you were like, do I go out with a rifle or do I go out with a bow? And we had that
because
conversation.
I would have had him killed by now with a rifle. I've had multiple encounters with him
had
where
him with
if
a
I had a
crossbow.
rifle, I could have had him with a crossbow. And everyone was
Right.
telling me, why don't you take a crossbow, dude? What are
Yeah.
you doing? Why don't you take a crossbow? And I was like, because I bow hunt.
Yeah.
I don't crossbow hunt. And we can get a whole discussion about that
debate.
anyway.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Nate. You were saying.
I mean, that's basically, I think that fills it in. And you're saying that it's kind of like you owe it to that buck.
I feel like I've already won had I had a rifle.
Right.
And I owe it to that buck. That buck's the oldest deer in those woods. He's lived as long as he has for a reason. I feel like he deserves to not die from 200 yards away.
Right.
I feel like he deserves, if he is harvested by a hunter, I feel like he should be harvested because somebody just truly outsmarted him. Mm-hmm. And if I can get him into 30 yards, then I truly outsmarted him.
Yep.
Because I've had him at 60 yards multiple times now. Had him at 8 yards one day, but it was a little too early. It was too dark out,
And the fact that you didn't take that shot, that says something too.
should have taken that shot.
There's a lot of trophy hunters who would blindside just take a whack
Yeah.
at him just because it's a monster.
Tell you
From
what,
8 yards too. I mean, hey, you can't miss basically.
You can,
If
by
that was
muscle
gun
memory,
season,
know where your arrow's going to go.
Yeah.
oh,
I
I
could've
could tell you,
found
if
something.
that was just a normal gun hunter, that would have been a dead deer.
Yeah.
If they saw horns that big. Now, I found myself at like middle of the road in this giant debate.
Yeah.
Every year I try to take a mature doe. I don't want to shoot Bambi because I
Yeah.
just feel bad about that.
Yep.
Mature doe, I pass up a lot of scrub sixes and a lot of fours anymore just because I'm not in the woods every day. I don't set up trail cameras. I don't really put in nowhere near the effort you do preseason.
Yeah.
Nowhere. Like I go walk the woods, look for runs, scrapes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I look for a spot where deer have been running a couple weeks before. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to hunt this area of the woods. I've gotten deer here before. I've seen big deer down there, whatever.
You could go in blind and have a good general
could.
idea of where you should be.
100%.
You could read sign pretty quickly and be like, oh, this seems like a good spot. And also, you live on the property.
Yeah.
You can see where the deer are moving.
Yeah, so I don't put a whole lot of effort in. I mean, you've hunted properties that border my parents where I hunt. You've taken some phenomenal deer in that gully. Like, there's some big deer up there, but I don't know. I'm middle of the road. I don't want to shoot a spike. I don't want to shoot a scrub 6-point. I rather let that deer grow into better genes
Why
for
though?
somebody
That's
else.
the big debate. Is why.
So me personally, I think that a smaller buck should have more of a chance to groom, become a bigger animal for someone who wants to chase more than me. That's just my personal opinion. Now, if I saw a monster buck come through the woods rifle season, obviously I'd shoot it.
I had that same thought when I passed up a big 8-point this year that came right underneath. I filmed it and I put it on the Kanati Instagram, and I had that same thought of like, I hope that there's
That deer gets bigger next year.
no. Well, obviously, I hope that.
Oh, we talked about this.
Yeah, but I
hope
had hoped
this is some kids.
that there's some
First
kid out
deer,
there
yeah.
who's got 400 photos of this buck,
Yeah,
who named this buck,
yeah.
who's been watching this buck, and I hope that this deer goes walking by him so he gets his buck. And I was like, that's not. I had, for one, I had never seen that buck before. It was a great buck. I would put it on my wall.
Any other year, you
It wasn't my
would've shot that
target,
deer.
so I didn't
Yeah.
shoot him. In the past, he would have been a shooter buck for me. He's a great deer.
I think I just have a lot of respect for the animal itself, and I just don't want to go and shoot a yearling doe.
Yeah, but the other
that's
side
just-
of that is though, like, I've heard the main arguments I heard is, for one, if I don't shoot him, the next guy's gonna, so I might as well. I don't like that argument.
I don't think the
I hear
woods
that
are,
all the time. That's the number one thing I hear.
maybe
Yeah.
30 years ago when the whole county hunted at once.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, you'd be
Now-
surprised how many deer actually make it through. A lot make it through.
Well, I just came
Well, there's
from
a reason
my
that your deer is as big as he is. He's made it through for 6-7 years.
I just came from my grandmother's house in Endicott. They're the last actual agricultural land in Endicott. They got the horse farm up there, whatever. There's been a 3-legged buck.
Well, it was about to be a three-legged doe on my property, too.
3 winners. It survived.
Yeah.
It's a big
That
10.
fawn you've been letting go, or that doe you've
I
been
think it's a
letting
doe.
go.
I don't think it's a fawn. Yeah.
So, hey.
I've been having this
maybe it'll
discussion
turn
like
into
crazy.
something like this, yeah.
I've sent Nate text twice now in the tree stand saying there's a doe that's been walking right by me, and it doesn't use one of its legs. You can see.
Probably
I
got hit
took
by a
some
car,
footage of it. I think
or
it got
has a
hit by a car.
nasty
It's completely
arrow.
dislocated because it's
Okay.
just lodged and it just has it
Yeah.
up, and it waddles by me, and I'm like, should I shoot this thing? Because like, if something's hurting and coming by and I know it's gonna die, I'm gonna shoot it. You know. And
You sent me a video of it, though. It doesn't look like it's hurting.
And I've seen it for 6 weeks now.
Yeah.
But no,
The thing's wagging its tail.
that's the
Yeah,
same with this
right.
buck over in Endicott. It's a big 10. I would shoot it.
A
Yeah.
10?
But you're surrounded by developments in this
Right.
10. It's like 15 to 20 acres on this side, another 15, 20 on that side of the road.
That's awesome, man.
But there's no spot on that property
I feel like it'd be
where
hard.
I'd be willing to take a rifle shot because
Yeah.
it's just surrounded
Right.
by developments.
I feel like it'd be hard for me to shoot that buck. Like, if I saw that buck, I'm like, that's a big buck. He's got 3 legs.
My uncle
Hey,
hates
man.
it. Like,
Yeah,
he'll
you're
come into the
fighting,
driveway. He has a long, sweeping driveway. That deer just stands in the driveway,
Yeah,
puts his head down, keeps eating, won't get out of the way of a car.
that's crazy.
He don't care. He just
Yeah.
moseys up and down the hill all day long.
Right.
Like, he lays down in their driveway, right on the front porch. He's been up there. He don't care. He's living
Yeah.
a good life.
That's
One of
really
the
cool.
neighbors feeds him up there.
Oh, really?
Just dumps corn and comes up, eats corn out of their hand.
Have you seen that dude on
wild.
TikTok who just like feeds carrots to bucks that he's just like they just like walk in his garage?
No.
It's great.
Have you ever
So-
seen that buck farm on Little Meadows Road?
Buck
out in
farm.
PA? There's a guy, he raises a bunch of whitetail every year. They're
Like,
all like,
does he slaughter
high
them
fence?
like cattle,
Yeah, the high
or is
fence
it
or
like
high
for
fence, yeah.
for hunting? People hunt it.
no, they're just
Pay to
in
go
like,
hunt it, don't you?
Pay to go hunt it.
no, he breeds them, raises them, then sells them to game preserves. They come pick them up and let them loose,
Gotcha.
which apparently you make a lot of money when you raise deer like that.
You got to be careful with deer farms, though, because CWD just freaking grows in it like crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
And
Which has been nuts. New York's been very lucky. We don't have CWD
Yeah.
in the wild yet, but it is in farms. But the other thing I was gonna say, on the side of, oh, if I don't shoot it, somebody else will.
Okay, yeah,
The
back
other
to
thing that people say is, well, the small ones taste better. The young ones taste better. Like
I've always heard that.
Old bucks taste nasty. So why would I want to kill an old buck anyway? And there's people that they don't want to put it on their wall. They don't care to.
I
Some of
think
their
they
wives
just-
don't let them.
I don't know where the old bucks taste worse.
Dude, all the deer that you eat at my house is majority is an old buck.
I mean,
Yeah, and just
the first deer I ever shot was a button buck when I was 14 or whatever. I still think that tastes the same as a 5-6-year-old doe.
right.
Like, I don't know. I think that's a big myth. The bragging right thing they all want to say. I think that just,
You want to take a piss break too? Well, he is.
yeah, should we take a piss break?
All right, we're rolling.
So
After a quick break,
what I was saying was the two big topics I've seen with that whole debate is, one, if I don't shoot it, someone else will,
yeah,
and two, old bucks don't taste good anyway.
complete lie.
And then three, which is the only one that I agree with, is like, I'm out here to fill the freezer. I'm not out here to put horns on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot whatever. But also, if you think about that on another perspective, is like, well, if you give that deer a couple more years, you're going to get like 40 more pounds of meat. You know? A young buck or a young deer is light.
Yeah.
You're not getting that much meat.
Right.
No.
The older it grows, the more muscle it's growing and the more meat you're going to get. So why would you not let it grow older anyway? And I would
Well,
be...
maybe passing that buck is like, maybe it's not. I don't know. What do you get off a buck? What do you get off of like a mature buck in meat? Let's just make up a number: 60 pounds versus maybe 40
Probably a little
pounds.
less than that. But
Whatever.
It's probably
Just
somewhere right
just
there.
random numbers. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's say on a mature buck you get 50 pounds of meat, and on maybe a not so mature buck, you get 30 pounds of meat. But maybe that guy passing that small buck means he gets 0 pounds of meat.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that see one deer a year. They're thrilled to see that one deer.
Yeah, because it's, again, not everybody is as lucky as you and I who can go out every single day. Right? And some guys get a few days. Like my father-in-law. Like, he had a Saturday off. He worked 6 days a week. He would have shot anything
that came by him.
Yeah.
And I would have been happy for him to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
He works 6 days a week and goes to church on Sunday. When's he going to hunt?
Right.
Sunday afternoon. That's about all he has.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. And really, when you break it down, that's only 4 days. There's not that much season.
Right.
If he can only hunt Sunday afternoons, he gets 4 rifle days a year.
4 shots. So why not take that small buck?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for that, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, I get it.
I get it too, and that's why I'm like, there's never going to be, you'll never see me belittling someone or being like, that's a small deer, or why would they shoot that deer? You shouldn't have shot that deer. Like, if you made the choice to take the animal's life, no one has the right to take that away from you. Like, congratulations, first of all. And second of all, like, you made that choice, and that's what you need to be happy with that. There's this old native saying that says, it's like the hunter who shoots the small buck and then regrets it because the bigger one walked by deserved neither.
I get that.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, I think that's really cool.
That's deep.
It's really cool, right?
Do you know anybody who hunts just for horns and not keep any meat?
Yeah, guys that go out to Africa and shoot lions.
So I actually know a guy who does that.
That's a good point, but what about the whitetail world?
I don't know anyone who goes deer hunting.
Everybody eats the meat, right?
There's people that don't like it.
I know there's some guys who keep like backstrap tenderloin, and they'll make some like breakfast sausage, and give a bunch away to people.
Well, I see videos. I see these or photos on these Facebook groups I'm in, New York hunting groups and stuff, and all these local groups. Someone just the other day posted a photo of this buck. I mean, it was a little 4-point or something like that, and it was like in the game lands where everyone parks their vehicles.
Yeah,
and it just had the back straps and the back legs taken off of it. Wasn't even skinned.
So that I take big issue.
And someone posted a photo and said, "Tell this person to come back and take the rest of their deer." And like, when I really break it down, how much more of the deer is really there? I mean, for us, a lot. We use everything.
Well, I didn't tell you, when my dad got to that deer, I was sitting there helping him because he can't bend over and gut a deer well. So I'm pulling everything out, and I set the heart to the side on a clean rag. My dad just takes a heart and huffs it behind him. My dad never ate heart growing up because his parents made him eat cow heart and stuff, and he hated it.
Yeah.
And he ate so much of it, he thinks it's trash.
Yeah.
Now, when the first time you cooked me heart in high school, loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's
so now I keep the heart.
Good.
Yeah, and I keep the heart and eat it.
I'm ready to venture into the next level of
eating.
What's that?
Edible organs.
What is that?
Kidneys.
Because you eat the liver.
Yeah, I eat the liver.
What's next?
Kidneys and testicles.
I know.
No, I'm not kidding.
No, I know a lot of guys.
I'm not kidding, man.
I get it.
A lot of the old timers would pickle deer testicles and eat them. No, I'm serious.
I know you're serious. It's just that's
me personally. I'm not
gonna. Tough. That's tough.
They're called Rocky Mountain oysters, man.
Yeah, right.
That's what they call them.
Yeah.
And
my grandfather loved them.
I think.
No thanks.
I think we need to eat them
kind of
sometime.
Gay though, right? No.
I think we need to eat them raw. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, dude. I'm not kidding.
I don't know if I'm at that level yet.
You've been watching too much Liver King.
Too much Rogan, apparently.
So the kidneys have like 11,100% of your daily vitamin something in them if you eat them, which, whatever. What's that mean?
How do you prepare a deer testicle? Okay, so
you can fry it.
Pickling.
You can fry it.
Well, you get it out of the outer sac that has the hair on it, right? And then they still look like a they still look like a
it's like a kiwi. You gotta.
Well, Yeah, you get it out of that, but there's still another sack, and you cut it out of that, and when you open it up, it does look like a little chunk of Wagyu. It's just a fatty meat. It just looks like fat, and if we're gonna talk about utilizing the whole animal,
you're right.
That's something that I'm
about
in principle big on, but don't know enough to do it yet, but I want to. I want to, like, I'm learning a lot, right? This is my third season. Yeah. I'm learning a lot. I really want to get to the point where I'm using everything I possibly can from the deer. I really feel bad throwing anything away.
Are you at the point?
It feels like a waste.
It feels weird, like getting rid of the hide and stuff too.
It does. I know.
It does feel weird.
When I shot that first doe.
I know you said, "What can I do with this?"
What can I do with it? I want to do something with it.
We've never done anything with the hides.
You can send out, get tan.
I always gave them to a guy who did that. I would just give them to
I called somebody about it, and they were like, I was like, can I make like a blanket or something? They're like, nah, it doesn't really hold up very well, but I don't know. It hurts me because we put things just like in the garbage can. It sucks.
It's a lot.
I never put it in the garbage can ever.
Yeah.
I always put it back on a pile in the woods. And you can bring a carcass to where you killed it. And for me, I just put it on my property.
So, in that case, I don't think if as long as it's in nature, I don't think anything's wasted.
No, it's not. Something's living off of it. Yeah. Even right down to the fur, there's going to be bugs.
Yeah, but if I'm taking its life, it does feel right to use it as much as I can.
Are you at the point scraping in between the ribs out, getting every bit of meat you can?
I did that on my buck, my last buck. Yeah,
that's how I am.
Throw it in the grind pile.
Yep.
Because we'll cook the ribs. They're not the best.
They're not, but
yeah, we try. You cooked ribs once.
They're hard.
It was bad.
If you don't take the time to cut all that fat out, you get that tallow fat or whatever it's called.
It was rough.
And just.
Yeah. And it's amazing how just what the deer is feeding off. I've shot deer at multiple different properties, and I can tell a difference in the fat on the animal by what they're eating on the property, and that just blows my mind.
Funny when you get a big buck, there's just not a lick of fat on them because they stop eating, dude. Yeah. There's bucks that won't make it through winter because they don't eat because they're so rotted up that they just have one thing on their mind.
Yeah.
Simps.
Yeah.
Just simping hard.
Simping bucks, man. Giving no.
But I don't personally know anybody who just shoots a deer for the horns and like either gives it away or
there's definitely.
I don't know anyone personally.
No, personally I don't either. But those are the guys that are out like doing the high fence farms and they shoot a buck and they have to spend all like money per point and they end up spending like $3,000 on the deer they shot, and it was like a deer that's just it's a farm. It's literally a farm.
Yeah, it's just a swamp donkey farm animal.
Well, these I think they don't. I don't even think they look good at all. They're just these nasty looking, non-typical, gnarly looking deer. You can always tell when it's usually because they have tags in their ears.
No,
but when they don't, still they're just
even by their antlers you can tell.
I don't like for whatever reason when I look at that and like you said you can just tell.
It just doesn't look like that deer has struggled.
I don't want to say I have a lack of
life.
respect for it, but I'm just like that doesn't impress me at all. Because I know you paid to go shoot that on this farm. And I think it's like you're pumping these deer full of these hormones in their food and stuff to make their antlers grow like that. I would much rather shoot like a phenomenal, typical 8-point than
I'd even take a
go shoot this
6.
nasty looking freaking thing with stickers all over and all this stuff and like paddle horns. Like, I'd rather just shoot a natural.
How about that?
I'm with you on
How about that doe we saw at the taxidermist the other day, dude? That was crazy.
Yeah. Did I show you that?
Wild, man.
So we're doing a documentary right now on a taxidermist.
Okay.
And opening weekend last weekend, that was before we did the podcast last week.
After we did the podcast. We filmed the podcast
right,
last
that's what I meant. Yeah.
We filmed it Saturday, we went and filmed Sunday.
We went on Sunday to the taxidermist because we're filming his work and stuff, and he planned it so all of his customers would deliver their deer heads.
Oh, that's awesome.
From opening weekend when we were there.
Okay.
And someone brought in a antlered doe.
Really?
That was in velvet. It was a velvet horned doe.
No shit.
Unbelievable. And the rack on this thing was so weird, man.
It looked like that.
It looked like I just kept thinking about like a crabapple tree. It just had these like crazy It
didn't look healthy.
It had a a horn that was coming out that was like this.
So obviously that's a big genetic issue in that deer.
That deer
I'm
must have
assuming,
had
right?
higher testosterone or something because it had a big
Huh.
neck too. It had a big neck, but it was confirmed it was a doe.
Well, we talked about that big neck, that it would need that big neck to support all that extra weight.
The
It makes
antlers,
sense that it would
right.
have big.
Right. It
I've
would grow more
never-
muscle to support the weight.
Yeah. But
But
also
it's-
testosterone. It's got to have
There's
higher
something that it
testosterone.
has that grows antlers
So how do you tag that?
as a buck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
we
looked it
talked
up.
about this in the taxidermy shop. We said, did you need to use a buck tag? Because it's a doe. Could you use a doe tag? And I text the DC officer in our county and I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm in a debate. Does this need to be a buck or doe? And he said, if it's no matter what the sex is, if it's over 3 inches of antler, it has to be a buck, which is cool because I didn't know that either. If you shoot a spike and it's under 3 inches,
Or a button buck, you can tag
it can
as
be a doe.
That was the first deer I ever shot was a button.
Mm-hmm.
And guy I was hunting with, real good hunter out in North Valley, he goes, no, under 3 inches, tag it as a doe. I'm like,
Yep.
and being 14 or whatever, I'm like, okay,
Yep.
fill out the tag.
Yep.
No, that is interesting. It's just like those albino deer we have around here. Have you ever seen them?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
I saw one 2020. There was 2 of them.
Down by Robinson's,
Robinsons.
Day Hollow. There used to be
no,
2 albino down
it
there
was
for
on-
the longest time.
Robinsons. No, it was on 26.
Yeah,
by,
there was-
by the middle school.
I
by
remember
elementary
the
school.
Robinson ones. I'm trying to find this photo of the velvet buck.
When I was out on a pee break, I just checked Twitter real quick. There was a Dalmatian deer.
Really?
Weird.
That's called
Yeah.
pieball.
It was the weirdest thing. I'd never seen anything like
They're
that.
called pieballs.
What are what are those little ones down in
Sika,
they're in Washington?
Maryland.
Maryland. Those look pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to hunt
Yeah.
those.
They're
They're
kind of hard to
they're
get-
miniature elk,
They are. They're
That's
hard to
what they
get
are.
tags for, right?
and they rut. No, we could go get them. We could absolutely go get them.
We oughta.
I would love to do
Because
that.
I think I watched that long video with you on it. They like typically live in marsh areas.
That meat
Is that
eater
right?
it's
episode.
only on an island.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've seen that.
It's
yeah.
an island in Maryland.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool.
That
That'd
would
be a
be
cool
cool.
hunt.
for sure.
Where the heck is this photo?
Now, if like duck season lined up with that, go down for a couple days,
Hey, a
hunt
little
them, go
twofer.
hunt some duck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Oh, here we go. Where is the? Can't find it.
Kevin digging heavy for
There we go.
these photos.
Here's the doe. That's what it looked like.
Really?
In velvet.
That is wild.
We'll have to put like a.
Yeah, I'll flash this on the screen for you guys so you can see that picture.
That's pretty.
Send that to me, Kevin, so I can show him.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Genetics
it was
in
the
animals are
weirdest thing.
so wild.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man.
I've heard of antlered doe before, but not a velvet antler.
Yeah, that was another layer. Of,
I thought that was
odd.
like a old time
Even
rumor.
Bill said that was the first velvet antler he got. He's like, I don't know how to preserve this. He's like, I'm gonna have to figure this out
Mm-hmm.
as a taxidermist.
I know in like New Mexico and out there they have a really early muzzleloading season, like pre-archery for us.
Yeah, some
And I know
other
they
states
shoot-
do.
Like velvet out there. I've seen velvet mounted. I have no idea the process behind that.
It's got to be tough.
I wonder if
Because it's
it's.
skin.
I wonder if it's
It's
more.
flesh. So I don't know.
I wonder if they like paint and glue and make it like that. I don't know. I'm
You're
not a
talking about, like-
taxidermist, so I don't know.
Like roll it in glue and hit it
Yeah.
with some glitter.
Later.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. I don't
We used
know.
to do
Maybe.
arts and crafts. You guys ever take a pine cone, roll it in peanut butter, and then sunflower seeds?
Yep.
Then you
I
hang it
used to
out.
do that. and
hanging
the
out for the
squirrels would
squirrels.
eat it.
Memory unlocked.
Did you do that?
Speaking of
In
squirrels,
like elementary school, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
forgot.
like-
Yeah, that's.
Like when you trace your hand, and
I
make a
haven't thought
turkey.
about that since then. Yeah.
do you have black squirrels down by your house?
No, dude, they're
No.
just by your house. Nowhere else in this
Me and my
freaking
dad
state. They're
talked about
just
it.
by your house.
So the other morning,
I got one in my freezer.
I was out, and I
I was
had
gonna mount it.
4 red squirrels over here. I had 3 or 4 black squirrels over here, and like 2 would run up, and I swear to God they were fist fighting. They'd run up, slap each other, and they'd run back to their side. It was
Yeah.
and for a half an hour I just sat. Like I was
Well, you
letting
know
my
what
dog
that
out and
is?
just watch. I'm like, this is
I'll tell you exactly what that
like
is.
gang wars going on. I don't know what was happening, but it was so cool. to
Well, the
watch.
reason it is actually because red squirrels like ramsack.
So
Like,
my dad was saying
red
that.
squirrels are vicious.
That's what my dad was
They're
saying.
notorious
I'm like, I
for
don't
being
know.
vicious. Red squirrels will ransack a gray squirrel's nest, and a black squirrel is essentially a gray squirrel. It's just black. They're the same size. They look exactly the same. But a red squirrel is significantly smaller, and they are just vicious. They just
Literally,
mess things
he'd
up.
run up and like do that, then run back to his clan. It was like the most wild thing I ever watched.
I don't know what it is or why, but
just that
your
whole
property.
hill.
No, it's not even the whole hill, dude. It's like
To the neighbors,
10 acres.
no shit.
It's just that side of your hill.
Because
I've
I
never
don't.
seen one.
Dude, it's insane. I don't know
They're
what it's
everywhere.
about, but like I'm down there, like I've deer hunted this hill my whole life, right? And I'm in there, and it's only been for like the past 5 years too. I'm in there deer hunting, and I'm like,
It's like me,
like, what
and
the
the neighbors,
heck is
like
that?
that little area.
yeah,
It's
I'm
only
like, is
black
that
squirrels.
a weasel? What is that, a mink? And I realize it's a black squirrel.
But they're bigger than red squirrel.
They're bigger than red. They're the size
Yeah.
of a gray or a fox squirrel.
Yeah.
They're black. They're
Jet black.
Yeah,
Jet
jet
black.
black.
weird.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And
They're a
you
squirrel.
live how
but
many miles
jet
from me?
black.
You're 5 miles, if that. 4.
They're just
Straight line, too?
Not even. I mean, yeah.
So think about like where Sam lives versus where you shot your first doe.
Yeah.
Not black squirrels where you shot your first doe, but where Sam lives, covered in black squirrels.
Black
That's
squirrels.
so weird, man.
Dude, and it's like one must have gotten in there, populated,
Well, it's funny.
and then more, and then more, and then every year more and more and more. And like I
Crazy to
bet
think,
you
where
in
did that
20
one
years
come
from now,
from?
that whole mountain
Yeah.
will be black squirrels.
Well, if I look across.
Could it be like a genetic defect that's just propagating? I mean, where
Yeah,
did that
exactly.
one
I think
black
that's what it
squirrel
is.
come from?
Yeah.
I
Is
don't know.
a black squirrel, is that a species? Or is it just like
Yes.
It is.
It's
It is.
It's a gray squirrel that's
Yes,
black.
like there's certain places in New York you can go like up towards Albany. There's a lot of black squirrels, and up in the Adirondacks there's black squirrels like there
squirrels.
are grays.
Yeah.
Right.
But
around
here there's
here?
not. But
No.
for whatever, like there's
So
dude,
weird
they're
that there's
so
just a
rare
pocket.
here that like when I go down to the like Lock and Load taxidermy shop, they're like, oh yeah, a guy brought in a black squirrel. I'm like, dude, I see him every day up there. And
Yeah, it's
and,
wild.
Like I brought Nick Roth up there squirrel hunting one time. He shot a black squirrel, and I was like, put it in my freezer because I'm gonna mount it, do something cool with it. I was gonna have it mounted like around a motorcycle or something like that. And then when I shot my bobcat, I was like, maybe I'll have it chasing the black squirrel. It's the perfect
That'd be
opportunity
cool.
to use it. So,
That'd be cool.
yeah, like dude, that mountain's just full of black squirrels.
Sam,
Blows my mind. What's that?
beer me.
The good old vintage cooler. Oh, you give them to the Jenny Red Eye.
We're on the red eyes tonight. Local brewed.
You know what they say about those red eyes?
What do they say about him?
Give you the shits.
Yep. Yep.
Guess we'll find out, won't we?
Garrett confirmed it last weekend.
Yeah. You drink enough of them. It's like drinking Bud Heavy.
But they
Or
say
like
they're
30 of them.
$2.99 for a 12-pack, and then you buy them, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's with a rebate.
Yeah, we got a gas station by us. Big signs, $2.99 for a 12-pack. So I went in there. It was labeled $7.99. Brought it to the counter. They go,
Nate did the same thing.
yeah.
It's probably the same
They
story.
charged me. And I'm like,
Yep.
no, it said $2.99.
Yep.
They're like, no, it's a mail-in rebate. So
I feel
you
bad
know
for
what
that
I did?
Cashier.
Yeah.
She's probably
So when I went in, she
Yeah.
didn't even know about the rebate.
I go,
I
it's
go,
up
they're
to-
$2.99, right? She's like, what? I'm like, there's a sign on the door that says $2.99.
Yep.
She's like, it's $7.99. And I walked over with her, and there's a QR code. I'm like, she's like, oh yeah, there's a QR code. I'm like,
What does that mean?
do I have to scan that? She's like, I don't know.
So I did. No.
So I had to go back out to my truck. My truck. My phone was in my truck. I went out to my truck. I scanned the damn thing. Yeah, it was a mailing rebate. I'm like, I'm not sending Jenny Beer a letter
Yeah.
to get a discount.
$3
Just give me the
back.
freaking $8
My dad said they
12
used to
pack.
do that all the time back in the day because I mentioned this to him, and you know how he was in the hospital recently.
Yep.
I walk in the hospital and I have like this thought of like, okay, first time I saw him since he was in there and had his heart
Yeah.
procedure and stuff, and like it's a weird thing seeing your dad
Yeah.
get sick in life, right? And I walk in, I don't know how it's gonna be. The first thing I say to him, like I walk in the ICU and Dad's in his bed with all the machines going and stuff. I'm like, hey, Dad. He's like, hey, son. I'm like, Jenny 12 packs are $2.99. I think I
That's the
texted you this.
deal.
You did, yeah.
And he goes, $2.99? I'm like, yeah. He's like, buy them all. He's like, I don't drink that shit, but I'll drink it if it's cold. Like he's literally getting his heart pumped, and he's like, all this stuff going on.
That's the most
Oh man,
your dad thing I've ever heard.
yeah, yeah.
So Sam, did you hunt when you were young?
So I started hunting. My dad hunted when he could, but growing up he actually had like 2 full-time jobs at one point. But so I would hunt with him, then one of his friends I'd hunt in North Valley with. So I hunted pretty heavy until I was about senior year, then really no, junior year. That was the last hunting season I had. Then in the Army, I think I hunted in Kentucky.
You hunted people for a little while.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Nothing like
For a
that
little
Russia
while.
chasing man.
Yeah.
But no, the entire time I was in the Army, I hunted one time in Kentucky. I think I was there for one fall.
Was there wild game in Afghanistan
Uh,
besides like goats and camel
there are a lot of
and
no,
dogs?
a lot of wild dogs.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And like they're scary.
Do they hunt in Afghanistan?
Not really. I'd say wild game. No, they really didn't.
At least
have
where you
any-
were at, they didn't really do it.
I mean, I was in a valley at one point. Well, I was in Mountains Valley at one time. Then the other time, I was like basically dune surfing. But
Like, there's no big old
It's all
bucks in
pretty-
no,
Afghanistan.
there's
right?
no there's no big 4-legged creatures. Anything that
right.
had meat was cows or goats.
Farm.
A lot of goats.
Yeah.
Not many cows. Like
Goats.
if you had
right.
a cow,
goats.
you were hot shit with a cow.
Really?
Like super hot
Rich.
shit. Oh yeah. And if you had a horse, like you were big money.
Hmm.
I mean, there were a lot of snakes.
It's
I know-
pretty arid there, right?
Very dry. But wintertime, like my first deployment, when I got there January 1st, there was 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Really?
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what the fuck's this
How
shit?
long that last?
Till the spring. No, I thought I was going to, like, entire childhood you saw Iraq on TV.
It's
That's what,
cold or hot.
yeah, I thought I was
Burning
going
hot.
to the desert.
Right.
And I get there, we're looking up at like 8,000 foot mountains. I'm like,
Like snow-capped mountains.
yeah, but there's just snow everywhere. I'm like, this is gonna suck. You want me to walk up this shit?
There's got to be wild animals. I mean, what is?
There's
what
a lot
is
of
that, man?
reptiles in southern Afghanistan. A lot of spiders.
No mammals.
Some
There's
wild
no like
goats here and there.
rams or big goat like wild goats. Like
Basically anything that had 4 legs that you could get a rope around
They're
and
just
tame
Farmed.
was farmed.
Yeah.
interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, it was weird.
There's that story about the guys that went on horseback and did the mission.
Yep. They made that movie, was it?
Right. They made the movie about it. and-
13 Strong, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
So that was beginning of Afghanistan, like
Before you got
basically
there.
way before.
But whoever they got those horses from was a rich dude.
Basically a warlord,
Yeah.
which that's all Afghanistan still is, just Taliban. There actually is a resistance against the Taliban. They've kind of been holding out, but
Did you see that big spider they got? The camel spider?
I've seen a lot of them. So
Really?
I was never afraid of snakes and spiders
Until you went there.
until I went there. Now I'm petrified of them. You saw the other night when I spent the night at your cabin.
Oh yeah,
There's that
spider
spider
came
on the
out of my
couch.
couch. He
And I-
freaked out, jumped off the thing.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, Sam, there's a spider next to your head. I got up and ran away.
Not good.
No,
He didn't like that.
I don't like spiders. Been to war, been shot, and I'm petrified of spiders.
Purple
So
Heart,
do you,
but hates
do you
spiders.
remember the first? Do you remember the first time you went out hunting?
I do.
What was that?
So, I've shot competitive rifle and pistol like my entire life, and the first time I went hunting, I was confident in my
Were
capability.
you doing competitive shooting before you ever hunted?
I started shooting competitive when I was like 8.
Oh, cool.
So, then the first time I went hunting, it's actually a funny story. We get out there, we start walking to the tree stand I'm going to sit in. I was 14 or whatever. And I go, my dad's friend Kenny, I'm like, Kenny, I forgot my tags, my back tag. I go, it's at the house, I forgot it. He goes, And he was actually responsible. He goes, all right, we'll go back and get it. No worry, opening day. So by the time we get there and get back, it's cresting daylight. So I load my shotgun, walk 30 feet out of the truck with him. He goes, doe. I go, where? Obviously, you don't have the eye for it when you're that young. He goes, there's a doe right there about 80 yards. Like whispering. I'm like, doing one of these things. Like, or Remington 870 at 14 with a 4-power scope. I'm doing one of these numbers. Boom. Folded her right there. Didn't hit her. Heart shot, vaporized heart, went right down. And he goes, good shot. I go, that's it? He goes, yep, now we got to go take care of it. And obviously, the first time you got a deer when you're young, you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
You definitely gagged.
I did.
You definitely gagged the first time.
So I did that, and we dragged it the 100 yards back to the truck. And then I went and sat in the stand the rest of the day trying to fill a buck tag. Didn't get a buck that season,
The
but
notorious buck.
there, 15, not even 15 minutes. Literally got out of the truck, loaded my gun, walked, got it, or tagged it, gutted it, did all that.
Have you shot a buck?
I've shot 3 sixes and 1 scrub 7. I have 1 nice 6, which is decent. The others were,
horns?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never Euro mount anything. I just keep the horns and
Like you cut them off or you
Yep.
cut them on the skull?
cut them right at the base of the skull.
So they're still like at the same
Yep.
shape they were.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I
Like
do
all the
that.
ones out front here.
Yeah, just like that. That's what I've done with every buck I've gotten.
Euro mounting is a lot of work.
It is. If me personally, if I shoot a deer that I think is worth mounting, I'll Euro it.
A lot of these Euros that are in here, I don't know where any of these bucks came from. These are all from my dad's days.
Yep.
And he probably didn't boil them. He probably stuffed them in an anthill.
Probably.
You go find those big anthills that are around.
Shove
you
the
shove
skull
the
in.
skull on that, and you come back a year later, and the thing's clean.
Crystal clean.
And they hang it on the wall.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a ton of anthills at Oakley Corner, so I had to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I would like to hunt the backside of Oakley's.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
feel like
next
it's
venture.
over-
It's
you
like
think it's overhunted?
no. Well, what I was gonna say is, say that I end up getting this target buck that I
Yeah.
have this year. It will be hard to go from let's say that he's a state record and
Yeah.
say that I harvest him. That would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
It would be hard to go from that to going back to chasing like 120-inch bucks or something
Oh,
like that.
I
The
understand
majority
that.
of what's on the hill. And this is going back to, it's an ego thing, got to do the hard thing, right? The next venture is going to be just public land. Go get a nice trophy buck on public land
So
with bow.
Sunday, I went and hunted Ketchmills, the state land up there, North Valley First Light,
Cashville?
that park up there. That is
North Valley First Light.
What's it called?
You go to North Valley, the First Light in North
What's
Valley.
the name of it?
Ketchumville, I think.
Cashville State Forest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ketchumville, my whole life, I only knew how to catch them all.
As you do when you're bored in a tree stand, you got your old Game Boy.
I do still play my
We're diming them out live.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Because Sam's like, you sent me a Snapchat at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was going to be the dead buck.
Every
and it was
time I
just
get a
you playing
Snapchat,
Game
honey-
Boy Color Pokemon. I'm like, yeah, man. I get up there and I
Literally.
just go.
Every time I get a Snapchat from you, and if it's hunting hours, I'm like, he got him. He got him. Yes. And it's you doing something stupid.
No
in
matter
a tree stand.
if I call anybody during the day right now, the first thing they say is, "You get them?" And I'm like, "No, hey, what are you doing tomorrow night?" And then they're just like, "Oh, okay." I called Paul today, and that's the first thing he said. You kill the buck? And I'm like, "No, I was gonna see if you want to goose hunt the next week."
Well, for a while, you were sending pictures of that one deer, that monster deer that was down. You were sending them to.
With the bow on it.
Yeah, with a
yeah,
bow.
you got me with that.
I
good.
got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
because
talked
it looks just
We
like
talked
it.
about that in the last podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got that.
Yeah.
Got me good. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
So what you doing, man? You been hunting at all this week?
Every single day. And
You
after
have?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I was under the impression you hadn't been.
No, I just been talking about it less, I guess.
No, okay.
I haven't seen anything, man. My cameras are dead. I got a photo of him on Wednesday night. I got scared for a minute because I was in there and the neighbor, boom, boom, and I was like, oh.
There he is.
Every gunshot, man.
Yeah,
Every
I
single
can
gunshot is
imagine.
just a.
Yep.
Which I do have a lot of respect. You're still out there with a bow. Even though we talked about that already,
Yeah.
that's still phenomenal. I
Yeah.
love that.
I love archery hunting, and I'll tell you, I was thinking about it today too. There's a thing. I've shot deer with a rifle and piled them, like you said.
Yeah.
They just drop. You can't substitute the feeling of following a blood trail up to your
Agreed.
deer.
Agreed.
And I'm talking like a good, even if it you shoot a deer with a bow and you watch it. You watch it drop 30, 40 yards away. If you're in a field or something or you're in the woods, you can watch it tip over. I got videos of deer just tipping over that I've shot with my bow. But it's weird to say, but I hope if I get an arrow at this deer, I hope that he goes 100, 150 yards.
So you just have that adrenaline.
And I don't see him fall.
Because you're going to have to wait for a couple hours.
I want to wait.
Yeah.
I want to wait, and then I want to
yeah.
track him, and I hope it's a good trail. And I want to track him, and I want to walk up, and I want to see him
Yeah.
from far away, because that feeling is gonna be
yeah.
nuts.
You guys know I used to be a lot different.
What do you mean? What do you mean
What
by
do you
that?
mean?
Nah,
What do you-
there's,
No,
a lot,
hey.
there's a lot of things.
I don't know what you mean.
Well,
From the time I met you, your life has done a complete 180 from my first time meeting you.
yeah.
And
You said meat in that sentence. He never used to like that.
you never used to like that meat.
Yeah.
No,
So
from politics to diet to just your way
If I
of
could take
life.
a picture of you right now with your bush hat and your camo
Mhm.
and your oversized jeans.
Send that
Yeah. What
to
about it?
2017, Nate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know where to start. Help me out. Where do I start with this?
I don't know where you're going.
When
Where I was going with that
the
was,
first time I met you, you were a very passionate person. I still feel you are very passionate about what you believe in.
Yeah, he's passionate.
That has not changed
No.
one bit.
No.
Yeah. Well, so I was more or less vegan for a while, for 3-4 years. I didn't like, mostly what it was, I didn't like factory farming. So I felt like, I wanted to remove everything's supply and demand, right? So I didn't want to eat meat and support this system that was like really, putting animals in really like horrible situations. So I just decided, all right, I'm not going to eat meat.
You were never
And
against
so-
me hunting. No,
No, I was never against you hunting. But at the same time, I like,
You always
we had
told me.
conversations.
You
where I
always
was
told
like,
me you're like, I don't think you don't need to do it. You're like, if you're going to eat meat, you're doing it the right way.
Right, if you're gonna eat
Yeah.
meat, that's the way to do it. But you don't need to eat meat. Was my position at the time, right?
Right.
And I eventually came around to understanding, what hunting is, and knowing that it was really what really ultimately changed my mind about hunting was, was understanding that of all the ways that a wild animal dies, whether it's disease or starvation
Predator.
or getting eaten alive
Yeah.
by a coyote, like these coyotes will eat them from the ass end
Mm-hmm.
alive.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Happens.
It's horrible. And so like
It takes a while
I'm thinking
to
so an arrow or a bullet from a well-trained hunter, I'm doing that animal a favor. Period.
Yeah.
Period. It is the best death.
Even
that-
old
that-
age and just freezing to death or
Whatever
dehydrated
it is.
because
every,
they can't.
every death a wild
Hit-
animal
hit
has
by a car.
is
CWD,
horrific.
EHD. Like
Yeah.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
slow. It's painful. It sucks.
Yeah.
So, an ethical shot from a trained hunter is the best death that an animal can have. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing this animal a favor.
Yeah.
And
And it's also providing for you and your family.
in that too. I can't have a tofu farm in my backyard.
I mean, you could.
What is tofu?
Huh?
What is tofu?
Estrogen, mostly.
All right.
Yeah. So no, where I was originally going with this conversation though is saying how like before I was, went through that phase of being vegan, I still like had a problem. I didn't really like killing things. Like I didn't grow up as a hunter. It was always like an uneasy thing to kill things, but
It should still be.
It is.
yes, yeah.
I'm
But
very.
like, I was very kind of like sensitive to it, like too
I know
much.
what you mean. Like it's still like
Yeah, but there's purpose in it. There's a reason to
there's
do
purpose.
Yeah.
You don't
So-
like the fact
so
that, you're
that-
killing something.
no,
You're
of
not
course.
like, let's kill.
Agreed.
You know,
it. Right. It's not a bloodthirsty thing, but
Yeah.
but I used to be too sensitive to like killing things. Like,
Right.
You know.
Right.
So even before I was vegan, I just like didn't like that.
There was a time.
So where I was going with this is because you were talking about tracking a deer, right?
Yeah.
And so I took my bow hunter course in like 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a portion of the course because at that time there was no online courses, you had to do it in person, and
Which I think that's the way it still should be.
I
but,
agree with that. It's definitely convenient.
it's only
I'm-
not because of COVID.
yeah.
Yeah, but so we tracked the deer, and I really enjoyed the part of like tracking the deer. And I remember thinking for years, I was like, man, I wish it was hunting where I could just track, like not killing something, just track something.
Track.
You know, like
There
'cause that
is.
part is so
There is.
that part is so awesome.
There's
Yeah.
a business in that.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
not
yeah.
a business. You don't really get paid for it. It's mainly volunteer.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could charge if you wanted to, but
Yeah.
there is. That's what
Yeah.
Neil does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But I love that part of it. It's so fun, man.
It's
It's so cool.
Have
well,
you
to
ever-
me,
Have you lost a deer yet? Or an animal?
No, I had a weird hunt the other day though, where I thought maybe I would have lost one. I missed a doe.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting. My buddy has some land, and there's a shed at the bottom of a big field, and I was laying down on top of the shed, and I took a shot at a doe, and it was like when you shoot a basketball, and even before you leave, it
Terrible
leaves your
shot.
hand. It's
Yeah.
an air ball.
Yeah.
Even before it leaves your hand. So I
that was
pulled,
off. Yeah.
dude. I'm a good shot, man.
Yeah.
I'm a good shot, and it pissed me off because I'm a good shot. That as soon as I pulled the trigger, I'm like,
You know what that probably
that was low. And what do you think it was?
I've been hunting my whole life, right? And there's times where I just get too excited. And
That might have been what it was.
They used to teach us in football.
Because it's been a long season.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And they used to teach us in football, and you'll be able to relate to this to hunting. The receivers, they would teach us how to catch a pass.
Mhm.
Seems like it should be common sense, right? I've caught
Yeah.
so many passes in my
Right.
life. But this coach used to always have us catch it, watch it into your arm
Mm-hmm. Yep.
before you look away. He
Yep.
said, don't look in front of you
Yeah.
until you catch it.
Yeah.
He said, if you are running a slant route, which is basically a 45-degree angle,
I was a receiver.
so you run up and cut. And that was always a route that was tough because if you caught the pass, you're probably going to get smashed by the safety.
Oh, yeah.
You get hit
Yeah.
hard on a slant.
Oh yeah.
So most of the time when you go to catch a slant, you stop thinking about catching and you're looking at this guy who's about to hit you and you
Right.
don't catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So first focus on catching the ball, and I'll bring it back to hunting. You were thinking about the shot before you took the shot. You were so excited about getting the deer that before you were done with your shot,
He was
you were
already
looking to
catching
see
it.
if you got the
Yeah.
deer.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Does
That's
that make
probably-
sense? Because
Yeah, that's probably
I've
it.
done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah, it's probably
So
for
I can
sure.
relate that to
when I
shooting
got
competitive.
yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're going to do.
It's like the easy shots that you miss.
100%.
Dude, and it was like
pistol
40
matches.
yards.
Yeah,
It was an easy shot.
Easy shot.
Pistol matches, 100%. You sit there, you know the stage you're going to shoot. You have a target here, here, here. You need to move there, there, there. So in your mind, you have this perfect planned stage to shoot this pistol match or course. As soon as, like, I don't know how many times I take 3 steps in the box and just be like, whiff around in the dirt, and you're like, and that just ruins the
Yeah.
rest of the stage. Same with hunting. You were ruined the rest of the day
Yeah.
just from that.
Yeah, I took that shot, and I was like, she was with a couple other doe, and I took the shot, and she ran off, and I was like, well, maybe I don't know, maybe I hit her leg or something at least. I don't know. So I
Right.
went out there and I looked and looked and looked. I didn't see any blood at all. I was like, yeah, I guess I must have missed her. But I was right by this hedgerow
Mm-hmm.
in the neighboring property. There's a clearing where they got a food plot, and then there's another kind of patch of goldenrod. And in the goldenrod, I could hear something kind of thrashing around. There was a lot of ruckus over there. And so I was like, man, I hope I didn't hit her and she's just like can't stand and she's over
Right.
there suffering.
Yeah.
And I've heard that this neighbor is kind of a jerk. I've actually heard he won't let you track a deer until after dark, and you can't take a rifle. So if you find an injured deer, you have to take it with a knife. He will not let you take your gun, and he will not let you go if it's daylight.
Which in New York, if I shoot a deer on my property, it goes to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop your hunt, go to their house,
Get
Right.
permission.
contact them,
Yeah.
and if they say no,
Yeah.
you cannot track that deer.
Well, you can. But you need an you can call the
you
sheriffs.
you need to
They'll-
call DC.
Yeah, or DAC. They'll escort you.
They will.
You have rights to retrieve a deer, but people
Without
can
law
be-
enforcement, you don't.
True, but ultimately you do with law
Yes.
enforcement. You have rights
Yes.
to that, but some people are more cool than others. This guy's not cool, so I wasn't even gonna push it. So I just kind of crouched down behind the hedgerow and I just listened for a little while. And I pulled out my binoculars and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna see if this deer maybe comes out.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she did. She just comes walking out of the weeds. And she's kind of limping a little bit in the way that I've like seen my dog limp before. And just like after he's just like rolled his ankle or something.
Yeah.
Almost
you
like
know?
a fake limp.
Well, it was like,
Like my dog Kaya, who's just looking for attention. Just
maybe
like-
she was, yeah.
Like, oh, pet me.
But it was like, a limp in the way of like it didn't look bad enough like her leg was blown off or something. You know, it was just like she looked
and
like
you
she
sat there and you
she looks like
glassed
she
her.
stubbed her toe. And
You're not.
so-
Yeah.
Probably
she
hit her
wasn't
with
that far
shrapnel
away.
or
She
something.
wasn't that far away, so I looked through my binos and I didn't see any wound. I didn't see any blood. I didn't see anything. But she's limping around a little bit.
Honestly,
And
you probably
I
scared the
watched her
shit out
for
of
like 10 minutes, 15 minutes probably, and she's relaxed. She's happy. She's just limping a little bit. I wonder if I like nicked her hoof or something. I don't know.
You might have scared the
You
living
might hit
shit
the
out of her.
ground and hit her with a rock.
Something. It was weird.
Ricochet.
And then, after getting shot at, like I was trying to, she got as close as probably 15 yards from me. And I grunted at her. I did and then I bleated at her and she'd like look right at me. I was crouched down so she couldn't see me, but she'd look and she'd just keep eating. And then I did a bleat and she looked at me and just kept eating.
Yeah.
And so then I did a fawn in distress. I'm just trying everything just
Yeah.
to get her to cross back over to the property so I can shoot her. And she just doesn't care. So I finally just stood up and I go, hey. And she looked at me and she took a few steps away and then looked at me again and then just kept eating. And I'm like, hey. She just didn't care.
Hey, you go.
Yeah, it's the
Some-
weirdest thing, man.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do that.
Yeah.
Like, you sent me videos of the big buck you've been chasing.
Mm-hmm.
You would sit there and bleed at him, and he'd sit there and eat.
He
Not even,
responds to nothing.
nothing.
He
Not
does
even.
not care about anything. All I'm doing is telling him where I'm at.
And that's the first.
I rattled at him. I've bleated. I've grunted. I've snort wheezed. I've done everything you can do to this deer, and he does not care. To the point where I'm like, "Are you deaf?" He's not deaf though. I know he's not deaf
It's
because
that.
I've broken a twig and jumped him before.
That is a very mature buck
Yeah, I don't know.
when he's doing that. Now that-
Great. I gotta pee.
All right. Well, I was trying to get into this whole because I asked you about your first day hunting and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah, I wanted to get maybe into talking about.
That's gonna be a whole nother one.
That's a long conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so maybe we save that.
being born into it or not.
Yeah.
So what we want to talk about in the next podcast is there's two different people. There's the people that, like me, who were born into a hunting, and like you, hunting outdoors family. My dad taught me so much.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I don't know that I would do this.
I
And
feel
then
like
there's
my
Nate,
dad got me
who-
into it a little bit. I'd say his friends got me into it a little
Yeah.
bit more. Yeah.
And then Nate, who was not born into a family that does outdoors, and having to pick that up as an adult. So we're gonna talk about that on the next podcast. So you guys definitely tune into that. I'm not sure who will be here. We're gonna probably have a couple new faces here for you guys to meet and hear, and we'll dive into that topic. I feel like we'll talk about that for a while.
Yeah.
That'll
It's
be
a
a really,
long
I got a lot to say on
conversation.
that, yeah.
that'd be a really, really good conversation. But for this time, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, listening to us ramble on yet again here in the hunting cabin.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
We're going to wake up and go hit the woods in the morning and see how we do. We'd love if you guys subscribe to us, give us follows and everything. And we really love when you guys interact. There's been some people interacting in our first few videos that we really appreciate that. We love to see the interaction. So we'll have a full conversation with you guys on any questions you guys have. Leave some comments on things you guys want to hear, things you guys want us to talk about, whatever you guys want to see and hear. We're here for you guys. So let us know. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy Thanksgiving.
See ya. All right. Hopefully.